This is on the Radar Entertainment blog, and I'm Radar coming at you with episode week 3 of the MLB Hotstove 2020 season. Last week I mentioned all the players who were non-tenured and tenured. Just an update, the Rule 5 draft was this week, and that is minor league baseball players who get added to the roster because they're afraid they're going to be picked. So the guys who could take are minor leaguers who aren't protected, that you may have some value to them, but the other team doesn't want to protect them, so that's how you get them. And famous Rule 5 draft picks have been like Roberto Clemente, just to name some. Now, the Rangers hired Chris Young, who was a former longtime starting pitcher, really tall, not to confuse him with the outfielder Chris Young, who played for the Diamondbacks. He's been hired as GM of the Rangers. His name came up with the Mets, so it was interesting to hear that he'd been hired as the GM. Because, I was like, what is he doing since he retired? Because he also played until he was about 40. He was working for Major League Baseball itself. So, that's interesting. We'll get back to how him being GM affects moves this offseason so far. Yankees third baseman Giovanni Urshela had elbow surgery, and he's going to hopefully be ready for the start of the season. That's not good news, but he'll be ready, hopefully. Phillies re-signed Ronald Torreyes to a minor league deal, and the Pirates re-signed Clay Holmes to a minor league deal. Just organizational depth. Twins signed Tizui Lin to a minor league deal, the former Red Sox infielder. And Ryan Healy's headed over to Korea. The man who can never stay healthy. He's a tweener between third base and first base, so maybe in Korea, if he stays healthy, he'll be a star there. Mariners avoid arbitration with Mitch Haniger, so he's going to stay there. Jacob Farias signed a minor league deal with the Angels. He's a former Brewers and Rays starting pitcher. He's hopefully going to get an opportunity to maybe start in Anaheim because they're desperate for pitching of any kind. Robert Duger has gone to the Mariners, a former Marlins pitcher whose brother is also an outfielder. Ian Hamilton, the former Sox and Cubs pitcher, has been claimed by Philadelphia because of the Rule 5 draft. People are taking guys off the roster so they could save spots for other people. And former Nationals catcher, Spencer Keyboom, has announced his retirement, just so everybody knows that. His brother is currently the third baseman of the Nationals. And Yairo Munoz, the Red Sox outrighted, and the Orioles outrighted Austin Wynns, ending that era as one of the catchers they were using. And Dwight Smith Jr. signed a minor deal with the Reds for them to outfield depth. Andrew Kitteridge re-signed with the Rays. Matt Whistler signed with the Giants. He's turned himself around after being a former Major League starting prospect. He's bounced around from team to team. I think he figured out that he's best suited as a reliever. Cheslor Cuthbert signed a minor deal with the Reds. Brian O'Grady, the former Rays and Diamondbacks and Reds player, signed a deal with the Padres. He's a utility player. Mets have signed Trevin Hildenberger, the Twins relief pitcher, to a deal. And Dominic Leone, Silvio Brancho, and Anthony Banda have all signed a deal with San Francisco. All of them have had major league experience. Leone is a relief pitcher, and Banda is a starting pitcher who's done both, and Brancho's an outfielder. Preston Tucker and Dave Buchanan, two former major league players. Preston Tucker, the older brother of Kyle Tucker, and David Buchanan, the former Reds pitcher. They're staying in Korea. Interesting that Chris Flexen signed a 2-year deal with the Mariners after he was not a great pitcher with the Mets, but I guess the Mariners are desperate for pitching, and they gave him a major league deal. Nate Lau was traded to the Rangers, along with another first baseman in their system for the Rays for some more players. It was a really weird trade because he's trading a major league caliber first baseman and 1 to 2 other minor league first basemen for other guys. They're just cleaning house there because there's not enough room because the Rays have too many first baseman, DH, third baseman, and corner outfield types. And with the way that Ronald Guzman has played horribly for the Rangers, he gets an opportunity there to play for them. Dave Dombrowski has been hired as the Phillies GM. He used to, be the Tigers GM and the Red Sox when they won the World Series last. Congratulations to him. Jose Cruz Jr., the son of Jose Cruz Sr. of the Astros, former Major League outfielder himself. He's been hired as the Tigers' assistant head hitting coach. That's interesting to see how that works. His father was pretty good. Now he's into coaching as well. And the Cubs have hired Willie Harris to be the third base coach. World Series hero Willie Harris scored the winning run for the Chicago White Sox. Had worked in the Sox minor league system, the Giants minor league system, and in this season he was hired by the Reds for the 2020 season because no minor leagues, there's really nothing to go on there, but he took the opening at third base that the Cubs had. That's interesting. He's working across town as well. Now, there's been reports that the Mets have signed James McCann, but they're like, not so soon. The Angels and the Phillies have also trying to get in there. So, as a Sox fan, you're sad that McCann's leaving, but he's getting his due. He's a nice guy. Met him a couple times in terms of talking to him at the game. So, he deserves to get the money and the place he gets to play every single day. So, it doesn't matter to me where he goes, but if he goes for the Mets, It's fine by me. I like watching the Mets. Now, interesting other moves were the White Sox brought Adam Eaton into the fold. They had him a couple years back where he was their leadoff hitter and their center fielder. They moved him to right field, and metrically, he's a much better defensive right fielder. He's also solves the Sox chance having a real leadoff hitter because Anderson's not a leadoff hitter. Only guy in the Sox who have been a leadoff hitter for full season was Leroy Garcia, but at this point, he's a backup because the team is better now. So the Sox have him. He's a grinder. He gets on base. He bunts. That's something Tony Lucier will like. Another thing that Tony Lucier will like is the Sox traded for Lance Lynn from the Rangers. So this is Chris Young as the GM of the Rangers' first move with power there. And Lance Lynn's going to be a free agent, so maybe the Sox re-sign him because I don't want to trade guys for a rental. Like the White Sox traded Tatis and some other guys just to get James Shield, and it just didn't turn out that well for us because look how good Tatis is. So the White Sox did trade Dane Dunning and another pitcher named Weems. And I'm sad that they traded Dunning because I thought Dunning had more potential to be a better pitcher than Cease. And definitely more talent than Lopez, but the Rangers were going to take Lopez, and they probably weren't going to take Cease. And the Sox probably didn't want to trade Cease. I want to see what Dunning could do because there were plenty of guys on the Major League market who are good enough to be your number 3 or number 4 that you don't need to trade 2 young guys for. But we'll see if the Sox extend him or he'll just on his own say, I want to stay with this team because he is a guy in a full season who could pitch you 100 innings. Pre-Tommy John surgery and post-Tommy John surgery, and he was on the Cardinals with Tony La Russa, so maybe he wants to stay. Another interesting move was the Reds, who made the playoffs last year in the extended types of playoff, have traded away their closer, Rachel Iglesias. He's pretty young. The last time he battled injuries was his rookie season when he was a starting pitcher and they moved him to the bullpen. So he's young, hasn't been that injured, and he's controllable, so I don't understand why the Reds would just go up and trade him. And all they get back is a player named Naylor and Noe Ramirez, who was a former Red Sox and Angel setup man. Like the Reds, I don't get what they're doing there. You just made the playoffs. You want to get better. You don't want to get worse. The Angels haven't had a closer in a while, so that is a good move for them. They win that trade no matter what the player be named later is. And as always, every single week, check out these video for baseball, Hot Stove Central News. And as always, download my podcast on the radar, wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for listening to week 3 of the 2020 MLB Hot Stove report. For On the Radar Entertainment blog, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.